Hello and welcome to Arts Dynamics Talks. I'm Sofie Marin, I'm founder and CEO of Arts Dynamics. And with me today, I've got Sune Hjerrild, who is the founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO of Artelize. And you are in for a very exciting conversation today because we're going to talk about the future of the performing arts. We're going to talk about the role of tech and AI, but also as a practitioner in the arts, as an arts organization and audiences, how can you meet, how can you connect, how can you generate revenue, engage the audiences and so forth. So we've got so much to discuss. So first of all, Sune, welcome to this talk today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is amazing. And I don't know if you can see the screen. I just saw something popping up on the screen, but it disappeared. So it's all good. So Sune, you've got a fascinating background, I find, as a wonderful opera singer. I've listened to some of your performances, and you've done that for many years as a professional international opera singer. And also your bio says that you are a serial entrepreneur, and I know that you started your first company many years ago, and now today you are here with Artelize, and you've just secured pre-seed funding even, and you're going big and moving into the next phase. Can you please just share a little bit more about yourself and your story?
Well, yes, I guess I'm the typical artist turned tech entrepreneur. I don't know how typical that actually is, but I had a few years on the road as an international opera singer, singing all over. And at some point, I think it was in 2011, I had a lot of experience with the market. I felt that we needed something as a community, especially the artists at that time was really, I was really into how can we make artists work together? How can we make the community work better together? How can we avoid always being dependent on middlemen? How can we avoid many of the things that I felt was systemic, problems with the industry. So in 2011, I created my first company. I founded the first company called TrueLink. That was a two-sided marketplace, as it's called, for talent, opera talent primarily, a place where the arts organizations could find suitable singers and artists for their performances. And the original idea was that we sort of didn't have middlemen, that there was one office to take care of all that with the contracts and make it cheaper, and that people were helping each other. And there was even an incentive program. So if you helped another one to get a job, you paid a percentage of your salary and all kinds of stuff, which was, of course, extremely scary to the industry, especially for the agencies back then. A little too revolutionary, I would say. But we got funded. We actually got funding from the Danish Growth Fund, as it was called back then, and we later acquired Operabase, which is still going strong. Operabase was if you don't know Operabase, it's they've been running since the late 90s, actually, aggregating, gathering data about opera, and that was something we really, every time we called an opera house, they always said, we're not interested, we are using Operabase. So we got tired of hearing that. So in the end, we thought, okay, maybe we should acquire that company, get all that data in-house, and then transform that grand old lady into something new, a marketplace that could really help transform the industry.
I love that. And I mean, working within opera as an opera singer yourself and being part often of big productions is all about teamwork, and it's all about often having departments also to support you when we have our big productions. I've got a background in opera too. But then moving from that into becoming an entrepreneur yourself, would you mind just sharing a little bit about that journey? Because entrepreneurship can often be quite lonely as well. How did you make the transition?
Yes, I think it was a gradual transition. Because of course in the beginning you don't even know that you're an entrepreneur. You just have a good idea and you try sort of to find out, how can I get this into the world? I didn't know I was a tech startup, for instance. That I just knew we needed technology to pull this off and to make this network work in the way that I had thought about it. So gradually you find out about how do I get funding? How do I get the right people to build this? I cannot build it myself. I need expertise. I don't have a background as an tech geek or something like that. So I had to find those people. I found a fantastic co-founder in the end, Peter Carlsen, who had some experience from his job. He was a musicologist who turned into also into a tech person, because he started his first job was quite similar in a tech company. So he was the perfect guy, and we have been working together ever since. But in the beginning, it's a long learning by making tons of mistakes all the time, learning from the mistakes, doing better, and that's fun, because that's also a little bit the opposite of what is the culture in classical music where I come from. It's a zero mistake culture, zero error culture, where everything has to be perfect. And here, in tech, it's actually constantly preached the opposite, that you need to do mistakes, because otherwise you will never learn what you need to learn, and learn it so fast that you can move in the right direction at the right time. Because tech changes minute by minute. we know that, but with the new AI development, it's just going so extremely fast.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the mindset difference that you mentioned in the world of performing arts, how often you're trained for many years and everything has to be perfect before the opening night. Whereas in entrepreneurship and tech, as you just described, things you test, split, and you do all these other, it's a whole different way of working.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when did the idea for Artelize start? Was it already then, or did it come later?
No. You can say it's a development of the first startup to some extent. It's an expansion. It's a more ambitious plan. Also because tech has developed so much that it was possible all of a sudden to be even more ambitious, not just to have this slim little area where you meticulously gather by hand all your data. All of a sudden we had this amazing technology, the early stages of AI, where you could actually gather information in huge quantities. And we could, instead of just focusing on opera, we could focus on all performing arts. So Artelize is the idea that you focus on the world of performing arts in one location, actually. So visibility, accessibility in one place, like an IMDb, which is also a very grand old lady for the music industry. No, sorry, for the movie industry, where it's a go-to where you can find everything about film. We also want to be a go-to where you can find everything about the performing arts space, and that was all of a sudden possible. So Artelize was conceived also because there was the pandemic. We saw a huge need, not just to make a for professional platform, but also make a platform that could draw in all these millions of people who are interested in the performing arts space in a new way, get a new audience, get a more diverse, a younger audience to play with, and to build those bridges, and get back in the driver's seat as a business, not just being there, that downward spiral, that everybody's talking about. It's also we wanna create we wanna be the tech that forms the foundation for a new renaissance for the performing arts. And it's possible, but we gotta hang in there. We gotta have the support of the community, of everybody, to get there, but it's possible.
It is. Oh, you bring so much hope. Thank you so much. I agree. And are you able to bring the younger audiences as well, and younger practitioners to your platform?
Yes, that's the fun part, because our platform is already now, I think it's 40% of our visitors are between the age of 20 and 35. So it's actually, I think that's really good. because the performing arts is normally people are from 50 and upwards very often, the audience in especially in the classical performing arts. There are of course
a fine age.
differences, but yes, in the fine arts.
Yes. I heard something, a BBC journalist mentioned how she had done a program about tech and talked about the younger generations. And there was this elderly woman who reached out and she said, I'm retired, but I too want to learn these things. And that opened up a fascinating conversation. And it was an eye opener as well for this journalist. And I was wondering, when I hear you talk, because it sounds as if you both capture the younger, the target audiences and the younger avatars in entrepreneurial lingo. But I would imagine that also the elderly audience and also elderly professionals within performing arts could also benefit from this. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think what we see is the cross-pollination between different kinds of art forms, different ages, different social backgrounds, diversity, quite simply, because it's art is not dividing. It's actually today. It's not like we don't see so much where people say, "Oh, I hate opera," or "I only listen to rock music." Or it's so funny to hear, especially now I'm talking about the young again. That's also something that is really important to me. But the young people I see today are really agnostic. If they see something they like, something fascinating. When I sing, for instance, I remember a few years back when we met, actually, I sang at this tech conference in Stockholm. And it was so amazing to see the reaction from the young people when I sang, because it was so different from everything else they heard there, exhibits of modern music, of course. And when I sang, it was just, the reaction was even, I was so surprised actually to see that. So I feel that the new generations are more open to all kinds, and that's also what we see, the cross-pollination on the Artelize platform. People coming, having one purpose, and then they find something else that's happening. I think 40% of people coming to Artelize, they also click on something else, a whole different event, maybe in a whole different segment or art form. So it's super interesting to see that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And since we are live, I just wanted to acknowledge all the people who have joined us and say thank you so much for joining us live. Today is actually the premiere of this live stream live on YouTube as a platform. Before we've actually streamed on a different platform. So this is the first time we're doing this in the hopes to reach more and to be able to empower the cultural and creative industries with the latest strategies, with the latest tools, with the change makers, visionaries and leaders and thought leaders in our space who are walking the walk. And Sune is one of them. And as you can hear here with Artelize, which is why it's so great to have you here, is we hear a lot, as you said, there's a lot of worry and concern in the industry about where are we heading. We see that engagement goes down, public funding goes down, and many people say that they struggle to promote themselves, they struggle to get work, and they are very much in the hands of grants and scholarships. And what I love about this conversation today is that you actually have a solution for that, and you already have proof that it is working because you already have users on the platform. So I just wanted to say to those of you who are here live, feel free to just drop a comment, let us know who you are, where you're from, what brought you here. If you have any questions as well for Sune and for us here, that is the privilege because you're with us live. And if you're listening to the replay afterwards, of course, connect. Would love to hear from you too, and to hear what your biggest takeaway is from today's conversation. So Sune, I'm curious, when you started this platform, you've done this now for 2 years, since 2022, right? So it's 2024. Yeah. What has been the reaction from the industry so far, from arts organizations?
Yes, well, we're talking to them every day, and actually, it's fun to see that they're intrigued, but also reluctant, and we of course there are always first movers, and we are lucky to have those that can just come in wholeheartedly and say, yes, this is exactly what we have been looking for. But everybody is saying, we need you guys. then there can be some budgetary thing, or we need to talk to the team and all that. But it's the common denominator is we need you because we need a new audience. We need to know how to engage with the audience. We need to be more data driven. We need to know more what we're doing, and see if it actually works. And we were talking about we had a big panel discussion here in the beginning of the year. 300 arts organizations came from all over the US, especially all from the Met to San Francisco Opera, New York Phil. They were all there. And actually, it's because this agenda is so important. How do we get that audience back and get a new one? Enlarge the audience, so to speak, and find ways that work. And we are constantly, we're working with it every day. That's our bread and butter. How to become data driven, how to read the data and then make those decisions based on that. Data driven decision making is what drives any tech startup. So we are also calling growth hacking. Growth hacking for the performing arts industry, which is a new discipline that they simply have to embrace. We recommend that you start at least thinking about. And our job is to make sure there's an infrastructure that enables this, empowers this process, making it easy. Because I'm an artist myself, it's not like I'm looking at spreadsheets every day. That's not been my life. It's not like I'm all of a sudden a data genius that can look at all these numbers and then understand exactly what should I think about this. But we have amazing experts within our team who's translating it into a system that makes it super easy. Even a tenor like me can understand, and make those tests, find those user segments that are either about to churn, perhaps, or become even more engaged. And both of them, we need to react before it happens. As an artist, we need to send those messages. We need to incentivize. We need to do everything we can to act accordingly and act with due diligence instead of after the fact. Oh no, they churned. Damn. Okay, we can maybe do better next year. We have heard from so many working in arts organizations says we are looking at the data once a year. That's all we have time for. Okay, but that won't help you. You will never get anywhere if you do it in that way, because you will never know what's actually happening.
Exactly. It's about forecasting. It's like often with accountants too. They report back numbers in the past, but very few can actually help you look into the future. And it sounds to me as if that is what your platform is actually producing for your users. Is that correct?
Exactly. When you look at the past, you can look into the future as well, because you can see patterns. You can we get data from our clients, and it's really regular audience data: who bought tickets, who churned, who came back, who became a donor. All these data, we can put them into our technology, and we're also using AI, and then we can see patterns. We can see how these user journeys work. Then we can see you did something smart here, do more of that, or you did something that didn't work. Don't do that so much. And that's what you need on I would say on a weekly basis at least, if not a daily basis.
For sure. And so my question to you, the next question is, one is the arts organizations. It sounds as if they are actually embracing this and because they understand the importance of data. Up until this point in history, what I have found and what I've heard from many people that are part of our community is that they feel that when you are an independent creator today, not only are you being forced to be a producer, promoter, you're also forced to, set up your own production company, to produce your own concerts and performances, obviously, even your record label or music publishing company, because there is no one there to support you. I heard numbers in Norway within the folk music industry, 97% are independents and have no representation. And Ivana Price from Intercult mentioned on a previous talk that there are about 90% of within arts and culture in Europe are freelancers. So what happens is, and what they've said is that when you are an independent freelancer and you're being forced to do this, and we teach them, we are all about entrepreneurship education. That's what we do here. So we talk about exactly what you're saying, what do you want, by when, keep track of your data and the metrics. So when they do marketing, it's really important for the customer journey and the product pathway that they have. But it's just that whenever they work and produce things, they are not the ones that actually get the data. It's stuck with the other party, whether it is they're working with a performing arts organization, or it could be a small theater or a concert hall, or even a smaller producer. How do you solve that with Artelize?
Well, Artelize is right now, of course, we are not 1 million people every month, but that's where we are going, and that micro ecosystem will actually tell you a lot as an artist. The traffic on you, who's visiting, what are they interested in, are they buying your merch, who's buying your merch, your super fans, who are they, how can you incentivize them further to become advocates for you, all of this. So we're creating an ecosystem where all this information will actually be owned by you as an artist. They have their free profile there. Actually, I invite every artist to come and claim their profile today and become part of this. And then, of course, we have the pro tools, the AI promotional tools that help you write campaigns, even plan whole campaigns. That helps you keep track of how is it going, of course, analytics. Then there's the merchandise. You can have your own shop, so you can sell your merchandise exactly via the platform, find out who your super fans are, and incentivize. Again, that's two sides of the same. The revenue is maybe even less important than finding out who they are, the ones who buy your stuff. So that's an amazing tool to identify those super important fans. And then, of course, we have something we call the Artelize articles, which is a whole new thing where we send out simply content about the artists and the arts organizations, about the events. So we're actually making a media company as well on top of all this. So and we work a lot with SEO, which is search optimization. So we make. I mean, as an individual, it's impossible to do this right. It's extremely costly, and we need to band up and to join each other to make this happen. And we use a lot of energy on that. So we also give the artist a chance to get a new visibility that they could never work up themselves with a desert island profile somewhere. Their own, if they make their own website, for instance. Websites are just like desert islands, quite simply. But aggregated information, that's visibility, that's cross-pollination, and that's a new discovery factor for our industry.
Yeah, I love that. And not only are you providing this opportunity for people, and I agree, do check out the platform. We'll post, I think we've already posted a link, otherwise we'll just do that again to check it out, because you do have a free tier and a paid tier, which right now at least is just $10 per month, which is, I just said, go check it out for sure. But what I'm also curious about is you as a company startup owner in your journey with that, because we had a little bit of a conversation prior to hopping on live about the whole, should it be non-profit, should it be for-profit? And you mentioned a few really interesting thoughts behind the reasoning behind, your choice of a business model and why you went with the one that you went with. Can you please just talk us through that a little bit? For others who are looking into, they might have a startup. We do actually have a few in this community who are already, they got startups pre-seed stage, in music tech or arts tech. So I think it could be interesting for them too.
Sure. Well, back in the day when I started with TrueLinked, I did think about it. Should it be a non-profit? Should it be an organization? It's like a union almost, where we were out there trying to change the way artists got jobs, quite simply. And I very quickly got to the conclusion that we need to be self-sustained. We needed to be, if let's say we got government funding one year or foundations supported us, what about the next year? If they didn't, would we then have to close because of that? So I felt it was important that this could be a long-term thing and a self-sustained thing. And of course, what I didn't know, of course, it's also very hard to build a business. It takes a long time to build a marketplace like Artelize. It's a lot of heavy lifting, and of course we couldn't have done it without our investors. But I quickly got to see that you could jump many years ahead if you got investments. I could never produce day one a revenue like that could cover the cost. So the only way is to get that revenue in first, and then do a lot of stuff, and then hope for the best, so to speak, or be good enough to get that revenue later. But build a huge, let's say, something that is making a difference already in the first couple of years, and not way later.
So I find that interesting that you, as you said, one of the reasoning behind this was that you did not do a non-profit just because it needed to be sustainable and long-term. I'm also thinking about there is some worry sometimes within the arts field, to work with investors, and there's, as you know, also a lot of talk about buyouts today and royalties and copyright, or all these investors are coming in and they don't understand what we do, and then we, what are your thoughts on that? Because you do have angel investors, but I also believe that you do have a little bit of government support as well. Am I correct?
Yes, we have both. We are also supported by what was called the Danish Growth Fund, and a group of angel investors, even a real VC, venture capital fund. But I think what I think is, of course, the hard part of being a startup, and also in the cultural space, is that there are things that takes time. And in the VC world, everything has to be really fast. The growth has to be really fast, and the adaptation has to be really fast. And that's also why it is hard, notoriously hard, to get funding for the musical, for music tech and for performing arts tech, as we are, because it's simply viewed as something that is extremely conservative and hard to deal with. I'm sort of in the middle on that. I can see that a lot of things has happened with the industry the recent years, where tech is not just something we sort of might want to discuss and might want to use, but it's something that everybody knows it's there, and we have to use it to have a future. So that's a big change from when I started back in 2011. But to come back to that, funding is an amazing tool, but of course it's also a double-edged sword. You have to show results. So that's also why I would urge everybody to try to have a good balance between soft funding from the government side, and also hardcore VC venture capital.
There's a goal just there, what you just said. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel that we don't often talk about these things in the arts, but more and more arts professionals are turning into their own entrepreneurial endeavors. It might start out just, as their own, just being on their own and doing having their own career, but then they are being forced into having to actually set up companies and to create their own ecosystem. And with that, suddenly, great ideas are born, including this one, obviously, that you're sharing with us now. So we talked about investors and VCs. That was really great. And I'm also thinking about, when we have government funding or we have bodies, at that level, what it does also for censorship or for deplatforming or the cancel culture. I know we have an, open and democratic society. We're lucky in that sense, but we've also seen these past few years that, and it could go both ways, both with public funding can protect something, from actually being marginalized. And investors can actually force creators to pull, their music off a platform or to do or act in certain ways. But also, I guess it could also be the other way, that, from a political standpoint, they would want you to maybe, adapt certain things, or I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see what I'm getting at?
I've never experienced that investors have asked me to think in a particular way, or act according to what they find appropriate. That's at least that's they know the founders need that freedom to act. But of course, we do think about diversity also in the team. It's very important, and you can always be better. Someone taught me to say that once. You should never say we're doing great on diversity. We can always do better, and that's the truth. But we are thinking about it, because from a practical standpoint, all those different viewpoints and cultures, they actually make us better. If we only had old white men in my age, the company would certainly not work in the dynamic way that it's doing now. So it's quite simply super important to think about those agendas. I'm not sure if that was what you were asking.
No, I think it's great. I just love that they were able to have this conversation, because I know, especially now that you're building such a strong platform with such huge potential, and we know in the arts field that we have, with war going on in certain countries, with conflicts, with things that are happening, in the world right now, that sometimes you disinvite someone. It could be a conductor or a composer or an artist, and suddenly, they were planned for a big performing arts production, and suddenly they're not allowed to come anymore, for political reasons or whatever reasons there might be, and without going too deep into who they are or where, but rather the phenomena. And also, you mentioned being more of a media platform. With that comes also some responsibility. So I'm just a little bit curious about where, and as you said, it's still early days, and I just find you to be so brave for doing this, because obviously things like that could happen. And what do you do, and how do you deal with that?
Absolutely, and I haven't thought about every scenario in that respect. Of course, we are trying to be very open. We also don't want to be a platform only for classical music or only for let's say high European culture. We would really like to expand Artelize to be a culture platform. And also sort of a place where you can find everything that goes on a stage, and this means that we have to include all parts of the world, all works of music and all works of culture, because that's possible. Again, we are like a Google of performing arts. We are just aggregating all this information, making it super accessible and easy to digest and find and discover. That's what we do. All the politics, it's not really interesting me. I'm not really interested in that, especially not when it comes to being restrictive and shutting off people, and some are good and some are not good, and all these division that happens these days in the world, which is super unhealthy. We should be thinking about the future for the planet, not about spending money on arms. Spend it on culture instead, and then the world would be a better place.
And I think it's good that we are able to address this, as you said. And I know, your vision from what you've explained is to bring the world of performing arts, under one umbrella, and to really do this. And again, I thank you so much for being here and for sharing. It's really exciting. It's still early days, and I cannot wait to see will happen. I forgot to ask you, what about copyright and royalties? I talked about it a little bit earlier. Some platforms, they want to hold on to that data. They want to own whatever you put on that. They want to stake or it all in, lengthy terms and conditions. What do you do on your platform?
Well, as I said, being at Google of performing, and that's in big quotation marks, of course, but we don't own the data. We present it, and it's everything we present is on behalf of the community and of the artists and of the arts organizations, so they get more visibility. But we don't own anything, and we make it available to everyone, so they can come in and get their profile, they can put on their videos, they can do everything that makes them look better to the world and more visible and more sexy, so to speak, so they can sell, so you can be a business unit that actually works, a sustainable business unit, and there are many ingredients to that today. It's not just being on stage, that's one part of it, but there's also selling merch, for instance. That could be there's the transactions that can go on with your fans, and that you need to build a rapport, build a big community around you as an artist. That's super important today, and everybody should think about it. Even the ones who are living from contract to contract in an opera house, for instance, that don't think well, they're taking care of the audience. No, actually, if you can bring an audience to that house, that's when your price is going up and your worth is going up. So all of this is something that if we can create an infrastructure that doesn't make it super tedious and hard to be an artist, that you have to think about even more things. It's hard enough to become a fantastic artist. Those famous 10,000 hours plus, but we are trying to make it super easy to also be active on social media, to be visible, to be all the things that I mentioned, but it should not be hard. It should be easy and fun, actually.
Yeah, for sure. So given where you are with all your industry, your vast experience and deep understanding of the field that you're operating in, what do you see when it comes to future trends? If we move out a little bit, to the wider ecosystem, what are future trends that you are picking up? What are challenges that you're seeing? What are trends that you feel are sort of emerging? Right now, everybody's talking about AI, but both you and I know AI has been around for quite some time. It's not new. It's just that people are suddenly getting it out. So it's like, what's around the corner? I know quantum computing, no, people are not talking about, but that's going to be a huge game changer. But from your perspective, what do you see? What are you excited about?
Well, actually, I am quite excited about the new AI because it is helping us to do good for humanity right now in where I am. It's helping us to really make sure that all this information is actually possible. I could never hire 500 people to gather all this, or thousands of people actually to gather all this information. I can do it because we can use AI, and we have created this this technology called Loligo. It's actually the name of a squid, so it's a octopus that gathered all this information, put it in the right places, and then in the end generate our fantastic platform. So that I'm of course thrilled about that, because it's an opportunity for our industry. I of course am like everybody else. I'm also worried. I'm worried about when AI is stealing the value from the artistic work itself. For instance, just copying artists and then making new music. Thinking about an industry label, the labels just getting an AI to create all the music and then have artificial people making the music, or even I don't know. That there are many bad scenarios going on there, but the most important about the new technology is that it can bring people together. It can build bridges. It can actually, like we're doing, focus attention in a very special way that benefits that will benefit many professionals. and that's what I'm really excited about, and see how that marketplace, both for talent and for artistic IP and all these things, that how that can work when it's really well connected to the audience.
And the word trust comes to mind when you talk.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you are a tech platform and you gather so much data and so much intel. It's really about trust.
Well, absolutely, and we do whatever we can to make sure that of course that everything is in a secure place. There's always a question of security, and there are also fantastic, you can say, well, there's an opportunity in this, but there's also risk, of course. That's as with everything. We have GDPR. We are in compliance with all these things, which we have to be. Also, even if we are operating in the US, we might as well, because we are coming back to Europe, so we might as well be in compliance from the get-go. What I think is, when you say trust, there's also an important thing here, that we trust each other to be in the same community, that we trust each other, that we are not competitors just because we have the same platform. We are actually it makes us stand out, because we are not having the concert at the same time. We are not having the same repertoire. We are not having the same voice. We are not playing the violin in the same way. People who wants to go to our concert have time in different they don't have time at the same time. They don't have money to spend for a concert at the same time. So actually, we are not very much in competition. So the more we stand together, the better it is for the industry, and the better it is for ourselves. That's been my experience for the last 10 years.
And classical music, opera, performing arts can be very highly competitive. And speaking of the difference between being, in the arts and being an entrepreneur, we talked about before, maybe this is also one of those examples where it's completely different from what we're used to.
Yes, I often hear, oh, what I will just drown, yes. Think about how it is without something like Artelize. Being in a sea of information online, and online is the thing. If you want to get discovered, you're not writing letters to each other anymore. So it is happening online, and if you just have your website and you forget all about it, you are invisible. You are simply not existing. So you got to get over that anxiety to get out there and be bold and be part of something bigger. That's the way it works today. And then do everything you can to stand out. Be consistent in your social media. Be consistent. Be out there. Be personal. That's also one of the very important things. You are interesting when you are personal. Also when you make mistakes. Also when you are filming yourself in the rehearsal room where you are making a mistake because this sequence is so hard to learn. That's also interesting. That's also something you should share, even though, oh, it's so scary and I showed a mistake. Yes, you also make mistakes in the rehearsal room. Everybody does. But that's something your audience would actually maybe like to see and find amazing, because when you are at the concert, you're doing it perfectly, of course. So there are all these things about authenticity, consistency, that people tend to forget. And it is hard work, but that's where our infrastructure helps you, because we make it very easy to be consistent and precise.
Yeah. And what would you say is the biggest mistake that artists make with the marketing, for instance?
Simply not being there, not being there enough. I think there's the mistake that you are. It's probably not interesting. I can only do it when I have a new concert. So if I only had the next concert, I could make some noise about that. it's not it's about being there consistently. It's about, if you don't have a concert, then make a concert. If you have to make it in your backyard, make a concert, make something, make yourself available. So I think the biggest mistake is actually being passive. And we call it the rehearsal room trap, because it's so convenient, so nice and cozy being there and practicing all day long. But what about getting out of that rehearsal room? That is the hard part. But that's what you need to do, because otherwise, why be an artist? And maybe this sounds harsh. I know exactly where you're coming from. I've been there myself. And you can feel like it doesn't help, and it's there's so much going on Facebook and all these other social media that I have no chance. It's not true, but it's something on, and learn from your mistakes and then do better next time.
Yeah, I often hear that many creators say they both hate marketing and sales, and obviously there needs to be a place, otherwise people won't find you and the amazing stuff that you create.
And people feel that they're not comfortable and not good enough at it, but that's again one of the reasons why we made Artelize with our AI promotional tools, that they're so easy, because we have all the data is already there. So we merge that into the prompting, prompting from ChatGPT, I'm sure, but we merge that into it. So there's a beautiful result. Very often also talking about things that you would have to do a lot of research to find out about these things, and that makes very interesting posts, and also whole campaigns where you can sort of pace your way up to a big premiere or something like that. Which it takes a lot of work if you have to do it by yourself. The fear of the white paper. Oh no, what should I do now? But that helps you get started. Then you can have your own ideas and change it. But just getting started is the point.
And what are the when people join your platform, what are some challenges or struggles that people have that they want solved? What do they tell you when they come on board?
Yeah, I think most of them have the feeling of being invisible, and that's our main message to all of them. That's something we can change, and that's something we have to change as an industry together, by being there, being visible, and making sure that we have a story to tell our audience. Whether it's be a personal story or the story about what we are doing, the art that we are creating, the new music we are thinking about, the new poetry, whatever it is, that we have a story, that we have a place to share it, where we know people are interested. Because on Facebook there are all sorts of people, and many of them are not interested. So why not being a place where we know people are interested beforehand? And then start from there. That's like starting on a whole new level.
Whole new level. Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, based on where you are at right now, you've literally just got started. You've been listed among the top 10 startups to keep an eye on, I know, in the EU, and you got your first funding in place, and you are now, you're breaking grounds in the US, and I know that you're looking into the UK and Europe next. So both for yourself and for the company, what would be an ideal future for you, looking 5-10 years ahead of time?
Oh, yeah, okay. Then I envision a very vibrant platform where millions of people are actually coming every month, or maybe even every day, if we are talking 5-10 years into the future. IMDb have 300 million people visiting. I think it's every month, so it's a crazy number, and I don't see why performing arts should have any less than that. The big thing is that here in the next years we manage to automate this aggregation or gathering of data, that we manage to automate that to an extent where we can constantly be up to date with all the news that if there are any changes in the programs, that we have that immediately. So you would quite simply always be up to date. That's one of the things when you have a platform. There are many platforms before Artelize who says, yeah, come and build a profile. And then you have to maintain it, and you have to do all sorts of things. And that's why it's all of a sudden it dies, because there's only old data there, obsolete data, and I forgot to upgrade this, yet another profile. That doesn't happen with Artelize, and that's one of the things that are super smart, that we make sure it's maintained for you. We make sure it's highly SEO optimized, so you are on top in the searches, and it's sort of I would say a website replacer. You don't need a website if you have Artelize.
Okay.
That's where we want to go. So I envision a very vibrant marketplace where there's a direct connection between the fans and the artist community, where the fans can actually help. Sometimes, if I'm a young talent that wants to go on an audition tour, that my fans help me to fund that tour. If I have a project, I found this amazing house or a factory or old castle, and I want to build a new one-time festival, but I maybe send it out there to the community who in this area want to fund and help me fund this project. Something like that. That is it's a vibrant thing. That is something that creates. That's why I call it a renaissance, because it's all of a sudden not funded by government or princes. The last renaissance was founded by the kings and princes of this world. The next one will be funded by the people, because there's a direct link between the audience, the ones who wants to see something and experience something, and the ones who are the creators who wants to deliver something to the world. When that connection that's a renaissance for me.
And you just gave me goosebumps. That is powerful, and I agree. From what I can tell, that is also what I'm seeing. It's really the grassroots, the fans, micro communities. Even you don't even have to have that many to support you. There is a reason why there is this expression, 1,000 true fans. It's like today it actually works like that. But it sounds almost as if you are like an all-in-one platform then. But not only like a Patreon is not an all-in-one, but let's say like a Kajabi, for instance, which is a platform for online course creators and online, whenever you want to build an online business, they got the website, they got the products, they got the landing pages, they got the sales funnels, even the CRM in a sort of simple version. But they
don't know about that, but
I
didn't know about that, but yes, it sounds like that.
But with the difference that you have, they don't bring. I mean, they have a Facebook community, but you are like 10 steps more than that, because you've also added other elements. But when you mentioned, that they have a website, they can do the social media, and it's exciting. So there was something else. I noticed the time is flying, and thank you again so much for sharing. It's great to hear your insights from what you're building, as not only the advice that you're giving to the community here, and I know many of them are grateful. We even had some posts thanking you and clicks and likes and loves going your way, but also your own journey as an entrepreneur and what it means to start a company like this, because this obviously, as you said, you do have investor backing, you do have certain demands that need to be met, whilst also staying within integrity and the heart and soul of the arts, and the spirit of what we do. So I was just thinking, as we look into the future and where you are heading, what can we do to support?
Be there, be part of the community, and support with your feed. That's exactly what we need. That's why we have it's an open platform. Everyone can come. All the professionals, they can start. They can either, if their profile is not there already, they can create one. We will gladly help. The system is also helping a lot. But I mean, it's an open platform where, if we use it, that the magic will happen. I would, you know, I would just like so much love to see that the artist community embraces the new direction that the Artelize is taking. That they that our community finds a common focus point. And of course, you always dream that you are the center of that focus, but that's actually not. I have been working for so many years with this. So to see something like this actually make a change in the world and making a change for the artist community and for the whole performing arts industry is a big dream of mine, as you can hear. But of course, it takes participation. In the end, if we cannot do this for ourselves. So my big dream is that people come, even and signing up. It's free. So just do it.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And of course, please help us share this talk that we're having today too, and hopefully it will help other people. And I do have a question to you as well as an entrepreneur, because as I mentioned, we do have many people in this community who are also at the cusp of, they've either just funded or started a startup or are just sort of the very early stages of a Korea tech, arts tech, music tech startup. What would be your advice for someone who also has an idea like yourself, maybe not the same, but what would be your advice to other entrepreneurs who are working and operating in the intersection between creativity and tech and innovation and impact?
Yeah, that's a hard question. Every journey, of course, is different, but I think what is the first thing you need to do is, of course, to know really what's your idea. And I would always say, if you get an idea because you are in a situation and you can see there's a need for this, then there's something to work on. And then, of course, get it validated. So I would say in many ways, always go small and then find out, is people actually buying into your idea before you try to scale it and find investors. If you can, as they say, bootstrap, find out, that's what it's called when you are trying with your own means in the beginning, to see if you can get a reaction from the market, one or two who buys, even test something that is not really there, just to see. And then, of course, say, I'm sorry, the product will come. Thank you so much for choosing to buy this product or sign up for this. But then you get a sign of life. And that's something that the investors like. So if you can do that on a small scale and you can prove that you can grow, then there's a much bigger chance that investors would actually become interested in what you're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that advice. So final questions. Number one, Sune, have I forgotten to ask you anything? Anything that you might want to share, or a topic we should mention before we end this conversation?
I think we've been far around, so I don't have anything, I must say.
That's good. I just wanted to make sure. And also, I always love to ask, is there anyone that you feel would be a great guest to invite to this show? As you know, we talk to thought leaders and creative founders and people who are at the top of their game within the cultural and creative industries across the world. And it could be anyone. And if there was one, who would you recommend?
I think then it would be Aubrey Bergauer. That's it's a person that we have a very close collaboration with, and you will hear more about that in very shortly. She's an expert in audience engagement, primarily in the US, but she's working on exactly from the inside of the arts organizations to build a new culture of how to engage the audience, how to retain the audience, and we have learned a lot from her, and I think also vice versa. But I think she would be very interesting to have on your show.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for that advice. And I need to sneak one question in before we hang up. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Right now in Sweden, there is this big discussion about the cultural and creative industries. We're not supposed to call it industries. It's not, we shouldn't even compare us to being an industry. And I just would love to hear what you think of that.
I would say I disagree. And Aubrey's new book is also called "Run It Like a Business," and we should never think ourselves too good or elevated above being an industry. We are here to serve the audience, and that's what we do. And if you're not allowed to earn money on it, then I think we are not there anymore, either getting funding or getting the sustainable income from the ticketing or whatever it is. So I find that a little, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't agree, at least.
So you heard it here, guys and gals. And I agree too. It's not an either or. It is an industry, but of course we can have public funding too. Would you say so?
Yeah, absolutely,
we can have
absolutely, and we should have.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
So where can people find out more information about you and Artelize if they want to connect with you moving forward?
Yes, on artelize.com, or you are welcome to connect on LinkedIn. I think you have the links, or we can share them. We are everywhere, so look for Artelize.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Sune. And I hope all of you who attended today have enjoyed this talk. Would love to hear your biggest takeaway, also what you're doing. Are you working in the performing arts? If so, or do you represent an arts organization? Are you an artist yourself, or maybe a lover of performing arts? You might be an audience goer, or maybe all of them, I don't know. But would love to hear from you, to hear your biggest takeaway, and also maybe your biggest challenge, and if there's anything that we can do to support you and to help you. That's what we're all about, and hopefully this could be one step in that direction. So with that, thank you all so much. You can also visit artsdynamics.com for more information about what we do. We organize weekly sessions like this every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Swedish time ish. That's the plan moving forward, unless someone is in a different country, very different time zone. But the plan is Wednesdays, 2 p.m. And we have guests planned for several weeks ahead. And I'm really excited. Just this as interesting as today, but in different fields within the cultural and creative industries. So have a fantastic day. Thanks all, and see you again next week. And thank you, Sune, so much for your time and your expertise.
Thank you so much.